Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about one of the most underrated marketing tools that you can use for your drone business, and that is using email marketing to engage and nurture your clients. This is always a tricky topic because a lot of times you may think that social media is the way to get in front of your audience and stay in front of your audience, but statistics show that email is way more effective when communicating and reaching out to your audience. One of those reasons is because we're talking about an owned audience with your email list versus a rented audience with social media. Statistically, they say you only get about 1 to 5% of eyes on any given post on any given day. And with all the algorithm changes and things that happen with some of these platforms, it's really hard to control what happens with your content. So with email, not only are you able to build a list and compound that list, over time, but it's a great way to nurture leads that are really interested in you. All the followers and things that you may get and pick up along the way, there's no guarantee that they actually want to be involved with your business. But if someone gives you an email, if they've opted in and says, hey, yes, email me, then clearly they're interested in some sort of service. And over time, you can continue to nurture them and send them emails. I know how tough it is when growing a drone business. There's a lot of time that you don't have. You're in the field, you're trying to figure out what marketing strategies to focus on. It's not so much in sending an email every single day, but figuring out some sort of cadence that's comfortable for you. One of the best ways to do this is by creating a newsletter. And a newsletter is something that can be sent out either weekly or monthly. If you're just starting out, I would suggest, a monthly newsletter. But what I wanted to do today was really just to take you inside some of the newsletters that we've helped create for our clients, and then also give you a steady outline that you can use if you want to go ahead and do this yourself. Of course, there are platforms like ChatGPT and other AI large language models that you can use to grow and scale over time. We're going to jump into the screen here, and I'm going to show you an outline. There's about 6 steps here that you can use to create your email newsletter, and I'll show you some examples as well, and then give you the tools that you need to go forward. First up, when you're deciding to focus on email, think about that compounding effect that you have on your audience. It's not always that your audience is going to buy right in the first couple of days or the couple of weeks. Sometimes it takes months, and it takes sometimes a year or two to even close a specific client. What do you do in the meantime when you're not speaking to them? Or maybe it's been some time since you've reached out or communicated with them. But if they see that, hey, this month we were doing this type of job, or this month this is an update, from us, it really gets into that, whole out of sight, out of mind thing where you have to remain top of mind with your client. And again, relying on social media is really not going to cut it. If we look at how to set up a newsletter, step 1 really is defining the purpose, of your newsletter. So understand the goal that you're even trying to achieve with this. So of course, you're trying to build trust and credibility with your audience. You're looking to nurture, your email list, which of course, again, is your most valuable marketing asset. You want to keep your business top of mind and, share expertise and solutions that provide actionable value, right? You want to share case studies. You want to share successes and jobs that you've done with, other clients as well. You also want to know your audience, understand the type of topics that they're interested in. If you are marketing to, let's say, construction site superintendents, there are certain things that are going to appeal to them more than, let's say, a professional in agriculture or professional, in mining. So you really do have to tailor your topics and subject matter to something that they're really, really going to be open and attracted to. As far as the length, this can vary. Right here we have 300 to 500. I would say this can even go upwards of 1,000 words. 1,000 is definitely, more on the higher side, but it just depends on how often you're putting this out. I would say if you're doing more frequent newsletters, then you could probably aim for, a shorter length. But if you're doing one newsletter a month, which I'll show you actually what that looks like, you can have it a little longer depending on your audience. So these kind of go over some guidelines, introduction, recent projects. You want to do some educational content, FAQs, and then including some upcoming events and resources. And of course, you can mix and match these, as you wish. You don't have to stick to this, but this is used to give you a little bit of a guide on what exactly you're going to include. What are those different sections specifically? in the newsletter that you can include as well. That's step 2, newsletter structure and length. Step 3 is, choosing the newsletter name and the platform. Now, for the name, you can use ChatGPT to come up with some names that are appealing. Just go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to create a newsletter for agriculture professionals that are interested in drone technology based on the name of your company and what you do. It will give you some examples that you can try out there. And then for the platform, I would suggest using, if you're just starting out, a free platform like MailChimp or MailerLite. But I would also create a newsletter on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very valuable audience there, and they're going to be able to see your newsletter every time you post. And even when you create the newsletter initially, LinkedIn will send an automatic invitation to all of your subscribers, and they will know that this person has a newsletter. And then every time that you friend someone after that, LinkedIn will automatically invite them to subscribe to your newsletter as well. So it really does make it convenient where you don't have to manually be inviting everyone. It just automatically do it for you. So email platform. If you have a really small list, I believe you can send about 400 to 500 emails at a time on like Google, but I wouldn't get too comfortable with that, because when your email list grows, you're going to want an actual email platform that's made for mass emailing. MailChimp, MailerLite, there are plenty of others out there, and I don't endorse or have an affiliate or partnership with any of these, but these are just some popular ones that have been used over time. Step 4, you're going to plan and write the newsletter content. As we looked at some of the sections before, you're going to give an introduction into, what happened this month. Now, depending on when you're seeing this, this is December of 2024. A lot of drone business owners are doing end of the year recaps, highlights from the year, and really just giving insight into what happened over the course of the year to give their audience some insight there. But let's say if it's just like a normal regular month, then you can touch on, of course, recent projects that you want to focus on. I would suggest, 1 to 3 impactful projects. And you don't have to have long descriptions of these, but just say a little bit something about what you did for that project. And then you can include a picture as well that will help match up what you're talking about in there as well. Educational content is very important. And this is not just for the newsletter, but for all content. You want to be creating value, right, at all times for the things that you're talking about. So you could put links to any blog posts that you posted that month, and then just make sure that, you're keeping it very concise. And again, I'll show you in just a few seconds what this actually looks like in practice. You could also consider some FAQs. So think about the type of questions that your target audience may have about adopting drone technology. How long does it take to see results? Or how long does a survey or mapping mission actually take? What are the different outputs, right, that you can get from your software that you're using to deliver the results? You can consider including some FAQs there as well. And then I always like to include some upcoming events and other like free resources, webinars, links to webinars that will really help and appeal to your audience. So let's say you are targeting construction, you can include links to, upcoming construction shows, right, in your area, or conferences, national conferences as well. This is the type of information that is valuable to your audience, right? So it's not just all like drone content that you have to be putting in there. Put yourself in the shoes of your avatar. What are they going to be interested in, right? What are they actually going to want to click on? And I'll show you an example of that. Next, you want to publish and promote the newsletter. Not enough just to send it out, but let people know you have a newsletter. You want to display this on your website. Make it easy for people to sign up. I see so many times, and we used to do this as well. We're also guilty of it. But in the very beginning, we had like a little blurb, on the bottom of our homepage, and it said, "Oh, sign up for our newsletter." And we never, used to actually send a newsletter. So you actually want to use that list, and then also make that form prominent, right? Don't have it buried, at the bottom of your page. Make it easy for people to see. Let them know what they're going to get by subscribing to your newsletter. And it makes it, that much easier to get more subscribers, over time, which is ultimately the point, right? You want to be growing your email list at all times of your business. And if you're not growing your email list, you're literally not growing your business. So publish, as we said, on LinkedIn or some other platform for emailing, and then of course promote it on your social channels as well. And then finally, just want to track and analyze and see what's going on. Over time, depending on, again, the frequency of this, you're going to see, hey, which newsletter is getting more clicks. Depending on which platform you use to track, you can see specifically what links people are clicking on, what they have the most interest in. And it's just literally doubling down on what's working. understand this is what my audience is interested in. Clearly, this is what they're clicking on, and then you can do a lot more of that in the future. We're going to take a look at an example of one email that we helped Chris Wassam from Aerial Ops Drone Services. He does a lot of mapping and inspection services in Southwest Missouri. We helped him come up with this newsletter. As you can see, we have a nice header here. Before you, of course, send it out via email, you're going to want to have a subject line. You're going to have, email text. I'll go a little bit more into detail in a future video, but for now, we're going to just focus on the core, newsletter. We have a header here, and we have an introduction, right? So welcome to Aerial Ops Insights. Talks a little bit about, as the year winds down, we're reflecting on how drone technology has transformed projects and made an impact in 2024. Basically talk about what we're going to be going through in this section. So then you can see here, we have 3 projects, right, that he can now talk about and give sort of like a mini case study about what he did for this particular client. For these, you can kind of keep it simple, but always remember with case studies, it's the 3 main things. It's the problem that your client had before they found you, the solution that you provided to solve that problem, and then the results that came from that. You can see 125-acre commercial site, our drone-based bi-weekly progress reports provided stakeholders with clear, actionable updates. By streamlining communication and reducing delays by 15%, we ensured the project stayed on schedule and all teams remain aligned across the entire project. We have a photo here to show that. So then we have 2 other specific jobs that he decided to show. Chris is more into, construction, quarry mapping as well, and then bridge inspections, right? So he made sure he included 3 of those in this newsletter. So he now puts this out. His client sees this. He sees the variety of jobs that they're doing. He becomes the authority, right? He becomes the experienced person. And you can imagine if you're not doing this, people won't know what you're doing. You have to give them insight into your expertise and what you're really good at. In my opinion, this is really the best way to do this, on a consistent basis. Next up, we have blogs posts for this month. He has a blog section, right here. And then these 2 blogs that were posted, you can now link them and say, hey, in case you missed any blog post, here's a link to go check out. So you're just providing more and more value, more content to nurture your audience and convince them that you are the person to be trusted with this. What we also did was we added some articles that his audience may be interested in. So there were some articles that we found online that would be appealing to his audience, to construction. So how construction drones can inspire the next generation of builders, right? There'll definitely be someone on his list who's interested in that. We also have how Skanska's drone program evolved from novelty to must-have tech. Skanska is probably one of the largest construction companies in the world, and whoever Chris's potential client is, if they're seeing how this big construction company, well known, is also using drones, that kind of builds that relativity, that kind of builds that familiarity as well, and it really appeals to them. And again, these are articles that his audience would actually want to click and learn more about. So we also have how construction industry has adopted drones in 2024. For the first time ever, Missouri allows drones for this fall's hunting season. This isn't specifically for construction, but he is in Missouri. And if someone's just interested and curious about how else are drones being used, right? It's kind of normalizing drones in that sense where it's not just the construction, but it kind of just, again, helps with that relativity based on their location. In that outline, I also mentioned FAQ questions that you could ask as well. So we have 3 questions: how drones can improve ROI on construction projects. So you have an answer by providing real-time data, drones reduce rework, improve resource allocation, and streamline progress tracking. So again, 3 simple questions, 3 simple answers that your audience would be into. So I have a section here for upcoming events and resources. Chris also has an ebook, so we put a link there for people to go and download if they want even more value. And then we actually listed some 2024 and 2025 events that were coming up, all again focused on his audience. So the World of Asphalt, Missouri CGA Damage Prevention and Excavation Safety Summit, International Roofing Expo, Design Build Conference and Expo. So you can really, do some digging, do a little research, see if there's any type of events coming up in your area. And if you think that would appeal to your audience, just, put it right here. You never know. They could have forgotten, right, that this conference was coming up. And this is a great, could be a great reminder for them as well. And then we have a simple CTA here. Let's work together. If you're curious about how drones can save time, reduce costs, and enhance safety in your projects, let's explore solutions tailored to your needs, schedule a free consultation, so on and so forth. A lot of value here. It's not just selling your services, but you're providing value. So if Chris continues to send this out, he's now, again, going to position himself as the authority. And the key here is consistency. Don't start, doing this, 1 week or 1 month and then, take some weeks or months off. You really have to dedicate time to doing this and putting it together. And it will become more routine, right, over time as you do it. But the main thing is just getting started. Your audience needs to hear from you, and the more they don't hear from you, the less likely, chance you're going to have to close clients. Another example here, this is for Dorian with Drone Desk, which is more of a software platform, but we called his newsletter the Drone Brief, and we have some specific sections here. This was more of his end of the year recap. So we have an introduction here that talks about, 2024 highlights. We then go into all the releases and updates that he had, for the year. We talk about, by the numbers. He has everything from, 33,000 jobs completed, 6,000 clients in more than 50 countries, right? This is very, very relevant and impressive information that his audience, needs to see. Talking about customer satisfaction and percentages there, how they're working in the community, right? And actually donating licenses to volunteer organizations that use drones for various tasks. We then get into the top news and insights from the year. So he's able to show, hey, these were the top performing news stories that we put out. They put out news stories almost daily, on their different platforms, and he can tell which ones, of course, get more clicks than the others. Then we also have free resources and webinars. We're helping him plan a webinar coming up in January next month, so of course we're going to mention that. We also have some ebooks that we've created for his website as well, and then he also launched a flight restriction zone map for the US, which we're going to start promoting as well. At the bottom, you can also see we included some drone events for him as well. Just think about what are those main sections, what are those things that your audience would be interested in, and make sure that you're including it in the newsletter. Just to kind of go back to the outline, just so you understand, like, what are those core sections? What should we be including? You want to make sure you have an introduction, talk about some recent projects that you've done, provide any type of valuable educational content that would appeal to your specific audience. You could put a few FAQs in there that would appeal to them, and then any upcoming events and resources that they would like as well. There are other sections that you can incorporate. This is just what works, I would say, primarily for service-based companies, but depending on, if you're more into consultancy or if you're more into another type of service, you can, of course, mix and match these sections as you wish. But the main thing is getting started, right? Having some momentum and being consistent. And I can guarantee if you're doing this consistently, people see you putting out valuable content, you will definitely see some traction. You'll see some folks starting to just recognize you for becoming the authoritative figure and someone that knows exactly what they're talking about. If you need help with any of this, this is what we do here at Global Air U. We help drone business owners with content, with branding, really with strategy and how to put an effective plan together to get more clients. So this really is a piece of the puzzle when it comes to outreach and what you're doing at the top of funnel to get more clients. This really is an effective way. And I would say I would actually prioritize this over social media. Go ahead and gather your email list. I will put them all onto a spreadsheet. Anyone that you've ever even just mentioned drones to before, they don't have to be a current client, but just make a list. If you've collected cards, from different shows or different meetups or anyone that's you've even mentioned or talked about drones before, put them on a list. Then start to send out, some content over there. And you will see that it becomes easier over time. And you'll likely, once you start to actually get clients from this method, I can guarantee you're also going to want to do it a lot more as well. So myself, I actually try to send at least 3 to 5 emails a week in a newsletter style. Like I'm showing you here, they're more just kind of routine, value-driven emails. Hopefully you got a lot of value from that. Thanks for sticking around. If you want to see other videos, go look at the channel and see other strategies that we're using for 2024 and going into 2025. And again, if you need help, reach out to us. The link is in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.